and welcome back to Football Picks here on TalkingSports.tv at Charlie Fitzwhiskey's in Vaughan, Ontario. And it's time now, Uncle Ben, for your NCAA picks. Like I said, you were absolutely on fire with your top NCAA picks last week. Some of them were just downright laughers. I mean, you bet them last week early. You were laughing. You could have gone to your grandma's, had a piece of pie, and know that you were going to win those games. That's the way it should be.
Sometimes it goes like that, Marty. It's nice to have those easy winners. We had a couple of, underdogs last week that won big. We had a couple of heavy favorites that rolled it up early in the first half. And, it was nice to have it that way. It doesn't always go that way, but it's a new week. Last week's history. Yeah. What are you going to do for me lately? Here we go, Marty.
That's the way it does work. And let's start with Florida at South Carolina, because I know you like this game. South Carolina, the Gamecocks are a 13-point favorite against Florida. This Florida team, to me, is in trouble. Who do you like in this game?
Well, yeah, I have to agree with you. First of all, the South Carolina Gamecocks are a very, very good ball club. Okay, they only lost 2 games this year. They lost to Georgia, and I believe they lost to Tennessee, believe it or not. Florida's lost 4 games in a row, Marty, like you said. This team's developed a nasty habit of falling behind early this season. They've turned the ball over. It's been a problem for them all year. And bad things, have a way of multiplying themselves and magnifying themselves when you play against really good football teams. Last year, the Florida Gators beat Steve Spurrier, who everyone knows used to be the coach of the Florida Gators, 44-11. So I just look for Steve Spurrier to hold no mercy here this week. They're going to beat down a down-and-out Florida team in South Carolina, in Columbia. And I just say minus 13 points. They're going to romp all over this team, beat them up, and try to move into the top 10 and get into a better bowl position. I like the South Carolina Gamecocks minus 13 here, Marty.
All right, South Carolina minus 13. Iowa State is at Oklahoma. Oklahoma, the Sooners, big favorites here, 24-point favorites. But you have said to me and on this program that it's okay in college football to lay those kind of points from time to time. Is this one of those cases?
Well, in certain situations. Now, everybody saw that, Oklahoma got blown out last week by Baylor on Thursday night. Everybody saw that on national TV. But you know what? Baylor's blowing out everybody. So I wouldn't get too concerned about that. And this is a perfect spot for this is the kind of team the Oklahoma Sooners beat up on. 1-8 Iowa State Cyclones come in. It's the last home game for the seniors in Oklahoma, and I just think they're going to go with a huge win here. Sooner head coach Stoops is 15-1, Marty, straight up, 13-3 against the spread, off a loss of more than 7 points.
Wow.
And he's including 10-0 straight up and 9-1 against the spread at home. With those kind of numbers, like I said, it's senior day in Oklahoma, in Norman. I like the Sooners to rebound off that national television embarrassment last Thursday night. They've got an extra 3-4 days to rest up and prepare. This is where they blow out a team like this, take Oklahoma minus 24. It's going to be a complete blowout this game.
All right, so Oklahoma minus the 24. Don't worry about it. It's going to be a blowout, according to Uncle Ben. And when he says it like that, I believe him. Texas is a 3-point favorite against Oklahoma State in Texas. This has been a weird season for Coach Brown and this whole Texas program. The Longhorns are not what they used to be, and yet they're 3-point favorites against Oklahoma State.
No, they're dogs.
Oh, they're dogs. Sorry, forgive me.
Yes.
So Oklahoma State on the road is a 3-point favorite. You like the home dog.
Well, like you said, head coach, they were calling for his head after about 2-3 weeks down in Austin, Texas. But since then, they've gone 6-0, the Texas Longhorns. So just when you think you're down and out, Mac Brown comes up big. The Oklahoma State Cowboys have really played well lately, but they're coming into this game as a favorite, which I don't think is warranted. Like I said, the visitors arrive with a week 1-3 straight up, 0-4 against the spread mark as a favorite versus a foe off a win, and a miserable 1-8, Marty, against a spread failure in their team's final road game of the season, and this is Oklahoma State's final road game. On the other hand, Mac Brown, like we said, he's really turned things around there, and he owns a Texas-sized 54-4. That's right, 54-4, straight-up mark at home when his team has a winning record when they're taking on an avenging foe. So if he beat them last year, he's going to beat them again this year. It's only happened 4 times in the last 58 games that hasn't happened. They've cashed 4 times in a row in this series also. The Longhorns, and they've also cashed 4 times in a row when wearing the dog collar in Austin. So they play well at home. I say playing in front of their re-energized fan base down there, because everybody thought the Horns were out of it. Now they can still win the Big 12, the Texas Longhorns, if they win out. I say take the Horns at home, plus the 3 points against Oklahoma State. They're going to win this game outright, Marty. I like Texas +3.
All right, Texas +3 is the play there. You like another dog at home, USC. The Trojans are 4-point dogs. Stanford Cardinal visiting. That's going to be a good game, and you like the Trojans.
This is one of the marquee games of the week, I'd say. It's an ABC nationally televised game. You look at what happened last Thursday night again with Stanford and Oregon. A lot of people were in Oregon. Stanford came up huge, beat them again this year. But I think it might be a little too much for the Stanford Cardinal to handle this week. USC's looking pretty good under Ed Orgeron. Since Lane Kiffin left, we talked about this last week, Marty. Since Lane Kiffin exited, Hollywood, basically this team has turned around. They've got great athletes there. They've always had great athletes there, but Lane didn't really know how to get the most out of them. Yeah, I think it's asking a little bit too much of the Stanford Cardinal to go on the road against a good defensive ball club. We talked about this last week too. They're number 12 in the country now. I just think that Stanford's already lost outright also on the road this year as a favorite in Utah. I like the USC Trojans to rebound and beat a Stanford Cardinal team that just may be in a little too deep this week, plus 4 points at home. I think the USC Trojans are going to win this game outright, Marty.
You would, because that's one of your philosophies, that if you're going to take the team, forget about the spread, because most of the teams just win outright. And the spread is almost immaterial.
Most of the time. Now, Marty, I wanted to ask our host, Marty York, a couple of games, because it is the CFL Division Finals this week. And, perhaps some people want to get down on those games too, Marty.
Because after all, CFL is still football.
It is football. And honestly, folks, I don't follow the CFL. Honestly, nothing against the game. But Marty obviously knows a lot more about it, so I'm going to ask our host, Marty York, a couple of questions. First of all, Marty, before we get to the hometown here, let's go out west and talk about the Saskatchewan Roughriders who are going into Calgary to play the Stamps. I believe the Stamps are favored by 6 points. What do you think?
A lot of people love the team that just had the bye because they think that the rest helps them. In my view, the rest hurts often. And I think the rust factor sets in more than the rest. And I think Calgary will suffer in this game because they did have a rest week last week. Whereas the Roughriders were involved in a very interesting game in their division semifinal against the BC Lions. They came from behind. They got their act in order. This week they do get Chris Getzlaff back, who's their one of their top receivers. I think they missed him a little bit last week. This game is important to Saskatchewan because if they win this week, they go to the Grey Cup, which is in Regina a week later. So they want to be at home. I like the Saskatchewan Roughriders as the dogs in this game in Calgary. In fact, you're going to get 6 points if you take Saskatchewan. The last I saw, take Saskatchewan, and I'm going to go with your theory here. The points don't even matter. Saskatchewan wins outright.
That would be interesting because that'll be a home game for Saskatchewan in the Grey Cup, is what Marty's predicting. Then, of course, the second game, which is a huge rivalry, one of the always great around this part of the country. The Hamilton Tiger Cats come in to play the Toronto Argonauts, and I believe that the hometown Argonauts are favored by 6 points as well. Marty, what's your call there?
Well, as much as these two teams are longtime rivals, they have seldom played in the division final. And to determine the supremacy in the Eastern Division this week, Hamilton is absolutely psyched, motivated. They won a game barely in overtime last week against Montreal, but those were under adverse conditions. This week they play under the roof in Toronto. As I said, they're absolutely psyched up. Henry Burris did not have a good game at quarterback last week for Hamilton. He will have a good game this week against Toronto. Yes, Toronto's the defending Grey Cup champions. Yes, the Argos have Ricky Ray, the most outstanding player in the CFL. But no, the Argos do not prevail in this game. They certainly don't cover. Take the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And let me tell you something, Ben. Kent Austin is a brilliant coach. He's won a Grey Cup before. He has turned around this franchise in Hamilton. They're good enough to beat the Argos outright.
Well, there you go. So you're saying both dogs Marty York likes both dogs, and that would maybe set up, although you didn't really say you think Saskatchewan's, anybody going into Saskatchewan in the Grey Cup, Marty, that's got to be tough. First of all, you're going to have some freezing cold weather out there, which obviously the Rough Riders are accustomed to. They practice in it every day. And then that rabid hometown green fan base is just going to be,
yeah, but you know what? I've done it. I've been there for Grey Cups several times. I've worked there for those Grey Cups many, many times. It's a lot of fun. It's a hoot. Just dress warm if you're going to go to Regina. Now, we got a little bit off topic because it is the division finals in the CFL, but the keys for this segment, of course, are the NCAA picks that Ben has chosen. To remind you, South Carolina -13, Oklahoma -24, Texas +3, USC +4. And Ben, if you're anything like you were last week, this will be a profitable weekend in the NCAA for our viewers. You could get Uncle Ben's other picks on the NCAA, and for that matter, on the NFL, at his site. Go to UncleBen'sFootball.com. It's always available there for you, and that's where you can load up on all the picks, except you won't have the CFL picks. I'm just giving you those for free as a throw-in on our program. Uncle Ben, thanks a million for coming out again to
Always
Football
a pleasure.
Picks. And folks, we will say goodbye at this point. I'm Marty York, and we'll see you next week here on Football Picks on TalkingSports.tv at Charlie Fitzgerald.